Hey y'all, this is Debra Cox and this is Talk Thursday. We have made it to July. The year is basically halfway done, and a lot has happened in the first 6 months. And I've been talking with some folks. There's been some family members, not in my immediate family, the past few weeks that have died for whatever reason, unexpectedly, accident or not. And a lot of people are grieving, and it can wreak havoc on a person's mental health. And I'm not one to tell you how to grieve, how long to grieve. I'm just going to share a few suggestions. There's different places you can go and learn about grieving, but I'm going to share what I felt was important. There are basically 3 C's of coping with grief, and they are choose, connect, and communicate. And I'm going to break each one of these down. And these help someone work through the process of loss. Because I'm going to tell you personally, losing someone, whether it's a family or a friend, it can be tough. And depending on how close they were as to, how long you might grieve. You can't tell someone how long to grieve. You just can't, because everybody goes through things differently. And it's a sad situation. But that's the fact of life. And so I'm going to just share some helpful tips, and just listen to what I have to say. The first one I talked about was choose. It's how you approach your healing. You can choose what is the best way to go about the grieving process. There are 3 things to look at. That would be to prioritize self-care, setting boundaries, and honoring the memory of the one you lost. And I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into each one of these segments for you. You have to decide what you need as far as rest, whether you need a distraction or activities that can help you in your grieving process. Those are things that you have to decide. Sometimes in the next section, as far as that, you've got to set boundaries as to whether or not you feel up to participating in activities or events that could be or feel overwhelming. Another one is to honor the memory by creating a positive scenario or activity to remember your loved one. Look at what they love to do. Did they love animals? People or different organizations. Those are things that could make a difference in a positive memory for years to come, basically around the time that loved one or friend has passed away. Then the second C is connect. Connecting is important, as grief can be overwhelming and hard to connect to safe spaces and people. Sometimes you just want to walk away and not have communication with anybody, and it just depends on who it is that you are grieving, because every process is different. I'm here to tell you, whether it's family or friend. But these areas of connecting can include reaching out, seeking support, practicing activities that make you feel grounded. Sometimes we don't feel grounded, we feel lost. And then there's reaching out. That means you can lean on family and friends without a sense of judgment. You're going to have some of those out there that are going to judge you because of how you grieve or, how you go about it. But people can't do that unless you've gone through it yourself with family or friends. Then it's better to not say anything at all. By seeking the same type of support system, think about a grief counseling group. Sometimes that can help, connecting with others that are grieving. Everybody's grieving process is different. So, that's just an option. Another one is participate in activities that make you feel grounded. It could be spending time in nature, like what I'm doing right now, or even group activities, depending on how you feel being around, larger groups of people. The third C is communicate. Grief affects everyone differently. Speaking up can help those around you be more understanding of what you are feeling, because sometimes they have no clue. And by expressing your needs, telling others what you need, it could be you need space to cry. You don't need anybody around. You just need to be left alone. Or it could be someone to sit with you in silence with you, or some other type of distraction. That's why I say we all grieve in different ways. Another thing to think about is speak up and speak the truth. Let people know what you're feeling and how you're feeling and why. And then you can also look at creative ways like writing things out as it supports the way you're grieving. Dive into the arts if talking is too much to handle during the grieving process. Plus, just remember, if your grief seems like you cannot manage it, then that's when you need to reach out to a professional. Because sometimes some people really and truly do need to talk to someone professionally to overcome the grief they are struggling with of losing that friend or loved one. Grieving is hard. I will be the first to admit, whether it's a family or a friend. I lost my dad when I was a teenager, and that was one of the hardest things. I had to depend on family and friends to get me through those days. And there's not a day that doesn't go by that I don't think about him. Then I had a best friend back about 6 years ago that passed away. And the family asked me to speak at the service, and I wasn't sure that I could do that. But God gave me the courage to speak up and speak out. One thing I will share about this friend is, anytime God put their name on my heart, I had to reach out to them, or God was going to be a squeaky wheel until I did. And every time I called this friend, she said, "You know the right time to call." I said, "No, I don't." I said, "It's God's timing, not mine." And sometimes those calls are meant for you, and sometimes they are meant for that person you're reaching out to. So by making strong connection with people while they're still here with you can make all the difference in the world. Sometimes it can help make the grieving process a little more manageable. But whatever you do, think about your self-care. Think about how you react to others, because not everybody is truly going to understand the way you're grieving, and that's very unfortunate. So I hope you have listened and taken note about communicating, connecting, with others as far as the grieving process of losing family or friend. Yeah, it can be very hard. It can be very difficult. I'll be the first to admit. But just know there's somebody out there that can support you, that can listen to you, or even sit in complete silence. It's whatever you need in life today. Just remember that. We've all lost somebody near and dear to our hearts, whether it's family or friend. And so with this start of July, please know and understand that grieving is a part of life. And how you do it and how you react is, the way you handle life in general. So think outside the box. the next time you lose a loved one or a friend. You know, you might want to consider these few elements that I shared with you, because life can be difficult enough as it is, but it can be even more difficult when we lose somebody we care about deeply. So with this July, it's a little hot. You might have seen a few birds flying around, pond life, but just take note, take care of yourself, stay hydrated, and try to stay out of this heat. You know, walk in the cool of the morning or late in the evening. It's still hot out there. You know, the heat index is 100 plus, so in some places. So just take heed and pay attention. And with that being said, I'm going to leave you with a few sights of pond life. And this is Debra Cox, and this is Talk Thursday.